Hey YouTube, what's up? My name is Alan and this is Stationeers. So, I've been playing this game since probably 2 or 3 months after it hit early access. I've really enjoyed it. I have probably, well, not probably, I have over 1,400 hours in it. I tend to play games and then when I get bored of them, if they're good, I come back to them, and so here we are. I want to try out some of the new features like the research tree, which you have to enable on a custom world. But I want to play on Mars, and I want to play on a stock Mars, with the exception of adding research. And I find it's difficult to build the equivalent of the stock worlds as custom worlds. So I've done a bit of experimenting, and I found out how we can enable research. So we'll just create a stock Mars and get crushed by our lander. So our sun, let's look here, take a quick look, see if we like this world. There's a bit of a hill there that's not great for our solar, but I think that's our sunrise there. Yeah, we can live with this world. So what we'll do is we'll immediately make a save. We'll call this Mars Experimental 1. We'll save, and then we'll immediately leave our session. And then I'm going to go over to Windows Explorer and go to Documents, My Games, Stationeers, Saves, and you see we have a folder called Mars Experimental, which is the name of the save we just created. In here there's a file called world.xml. If you hold shift and right click on it, you'll get the option to open or edit it. Edit should take you into regular Notepad, which should be sufficient, but I have Notepad++ installed, so I'm going to use it. Notepad++ is just kind of a better notepad. You can see I'm already on the thing we need to change, but to find it, you can press Control F in either Notepad or Notepad++ and search for the word research. And it'll appear a couple of times, well, a lot of times. But what we want is this first one. There's a setting here called research key, and the current value is research off. If we change that to on, and I don't know if capitalization matters, but I'm going to preserve it. Capital R for research, capital O for on. In the tests I saw, it was this way. So you can hit Control S to save in both Notepad or Notepad++. And close that. I'll close Explorer. And then we just want to load the world we created, the save we modified. And everything looks the same because all we did was change a setting. We didn't really do anything else. So I guess you'll have to trust me. But yeah, research should be enabled now. So one of the first things a lot of people do when they play Stationeers is to lock their mask. Go ahead and do that. And then the other thing a lot of people do, myself included, is a bit of inventory management. So for example, I'm going to put my duct tape in my suit here. I like to keep it there. I'm going to put the tracker in the tablet. And then I want the solar panel, so I'm going to swap the portable solar panel for the real one. I want some iron frames. I want some iron sheets. I want some glass. And I also want, actually we'll put the frames in our hand, and we will grab the arc furnace. and the auto lathe. The other thing I like to do is I like to move my mining belt over closer to the mining slot in the inventory. Just kind of a preference thing. It probably doesn't actually do anything all that useful. Now I'm going to look for a place to start our sort of, no, it's not even a base, it's our initial work area. And what I'm looking for is I like to be sort of close to the terrain height so I don't have a big jump to get on top of all the time. And the other thing I'm looking at is where the sun rose, and I believe it was over there. Can you tell which way this is going? If you put your cursor right underneath the sun, it'll move away from it. Okay, so the sunrise was that way. So I'm going to build a 3x4 platform, and this looks like as good a place as any. Sort of along the direction perpendicular to the axis of the sunrise, if that makes any sense whatsoever. A lot of people build 3x3s, but I find it's a little crowded, so I give myself just a little bit extra room. And then on one of the ends, I'm going to build what's going to be our solar tower. And you see that this will have kind of an unobstructed view of the sun, because we're going to build our solar array in this direction, perpendicular to the direction the sun rises. So, no, wrong one. We'll swap the seats for the frames. Get our tool belt out and grab the arc. That's not the arc welder, that's the welder. The welding torch. We'll turn it on, and we will make these. We'll build them up one level so that we can walk on them. Before, first episode, what I'm hoping to accomplish is I want to get our little starting area set up, get some of our basic manufacturing stuff down, go out and do some mining, and get enough resources to manufacture and build our electronics printer, which is why I grabbed some of the things I grabbed. So for example, we can over here and we'll put our solar panel on the top of this tower. I'm going to point the data port. That's the one with the blocks. Ooh, if alt, it stops. So on the sort of left side there, you can see the little blocks pointing toward the sun. Build that. I'll grab the glass sheets and we'll finish that build. We can put down our arc furnace. I tend to like to build with all the things on the back of it, toward the back. We'll put it here because I have a plan for this square. We'll put down our auto lathe just to kind of get it out of our inventory. We can come back and finish that in a moment. To free up some room, I'm just going to drop a couple of things. And then I'm going to go back over our starting gear. And from this crate, we'll skip the battery charger. But we will grab the battery from this one. We will grab the power controllers, the APCs. I don't like using the solid generator or the portable solid generator. I think it's kind of ridiculous that there's coal on Mars. I know that we have to use it for steel, but otherwise I like to try to avoid it. Now I will grab our little solar panel. It's not fantastic, but we can charge small batteries with it pretty easily. Speaking of, we have a couple over here that I'll just go ahead and grab. And then one last spot, my right hand will grab the beacon. And I'm just going to throw some of this stuff kind of in front of what will become our sort of power center. So we'll place the APCs. The power port is this one here. So I'm going to place them in this orientation. You see on the right hand side will be the input, and the left hand side will be the output. And while I'm thinking of it, we'll go ahead and open these up, pop them on. We can take that large battery and we'll put it in the bottom. Take one of the small ones and put it up there, and we'll take the other and pop it in this charger just to get it out of our inventory. Kind of the theme of the day. Now we can start wiring, cabling. Oh, I also forget I like to swap these two, the angle grinder and the wire cutters, because if you hold them in your hand while you're placing wires, you can merge them, which is a nice quality of life thing we got a while ago. So like if I place, if you're not familiar, if I place that guy there, really I want a three-way to go there and then down. So I'll use a corner on the bottom one, but because I'm holding the pliers, wire cutters, I can place one there and it turns it into a junction. This bottom APC is the one we're going to use to power our base right now. The other one will just, right now it'll sit there and we can use it as a battery charger, which is nice. But I do have plans for it in the near future. As a bit of a, I don't know if it's really a time saver, but I tend to place all of the pieces of wire of the same shape I can. Well, I've done a poor job of it here, but when I'm on top of it, it seems to save time. Corner, I think. Should be everything wired up for now. That guy has power. We'll put these guys away. Keep them in the starting order. Another thing I'm gonna go grab. New. Get a extra wrench to start. And that will be nice to just put over by the solar panel, so we don't have to keep running back and forth. Oh, I usually also grab solar sensor. I don't want any doors, consoles, pipe yet. Go back where. There's the lights of the PCs. What made me think of grabbing the wrench is we're going to want to turn this guy to, oops, not 10 degrees, go to negative 90 degrees, and then when we tilt it downwards, 0% will face the sunrise. Didn't mean to do that. And really need these at the moment. Thought I'd grab them. But we can go ahead and set up finish building the autolathe. So to do this, we need a couple of iron sheets. We need wire. We need some plastic sheets, which we weld on for some reason. Hit with a screwdriver, and then that's done. We don't need plastic sheets for the moment. We don't need iron sheets for the moment. And again, to free up space in our inventory and set us up for the future, I'll just mount a daylight sensor here on the side facing the sunrise. So the next thing I want to do is actually do some mining. So what I'm going to do is I'll swap mining belt in, grab the mining drill and my tablet with the tracker in it. And what I'm going to do is I'll turn on the tracking beacon, switch back over to the tablet and turn it on. And you can see, well, right now, my left. But something I like to do is, well, one, I like to fly when I'm mining. I find it covers more ground and it's easier to see things. During the day especially, but it's useful at night. And I'm just going to pick a direction and leave my base and fly in that direction until I get a couple hundred meters away. I don't know for sure that it actually helps, but it seems to me that if you mine far away from your base, you have less sort of lag issues, which is in traditionally garbage collection in Stationeers. So yeah, I'm gonna go to like 200 meters away. We're coming up at 200 meters. So I'm going to keep the tablet in my hand and I'm going to keep going in this direction. I'm going to sort of look around a bit. These mountains on Mars tend to have resources on them. This could be good. Okay, so this is good. This will be some copper. Be nice. For my first mining trip, what I'm hoping to get is probably about 2 stacks or 100. I think they're technically grams, but that's kind of silly. So, what are units of copper? Probably 50 units of gold if we can find it. Probably settle for 30-ish. And then I'd love to get like 200 or 4 stacks of iron. So what I'll do is I will continue mining this out and catch up with you when I'm ready to leave this spot. So the sun has come up and I'm almost on my second stack of copper here. You can see I found a tiny little bit of gold. I did some exploring and didn't find any more of it, unfortunately. So there we go. I'm actually going to drop this little single one because, yeah, it's not going to be good. There's plenty of copper visible here, so that's good. I don't need to worry too much about that. When we came across this, it was a little bit to my left, so I'm just going to over here. And then I'm going to keep the arrow pointing directly behind me, like we were, and we're going to keep looking for more resources. And now that we have sunlight, hopefully find some iron quickly. Probably go out to, I don't know, 350-ish meters and then start making my way around. I'll just keep the arrow pointing to my left. Coal, we don't really need that just yet. Now that we've kind of crossed over this mountain, the neat crater, I wondered if that was maybe the one we'd made with our copper. I think here's some silver. We don't need that. Here's one little bit of iron, but I'm afraid that's going to be all it is. The case. So what I'll do is I'll keep exploring the way I have been and catch up with you when I find something. So I found a bit of iron here. We can see our base is over there and we're at about 300 meters. Power low, that's okay. So hopefully this will be a moderate size vein. Yeah, so it looks like I'll be here for a moment. Again, I will mine some of this out and then catch up with you in a few. Okay, so you can see I've got my 200 iron. And before we completely lose the light, well, we've pretty much completely lost the light. I'm going to see if I can't spot some iron. If we fly up, no, too high. Sometimes if you fly up, you can sort of trick the sun into coming back up. I'm going to wander around and see if I can't find some more gold. If I should encounter some lead, I might grab that. It's kind of nice to have a bit of lead early on if you can, so as soon as you start smelting things in a furnace, that you can make some lead right away. Of course, there's iron. Yeah, I'll catch up with you in a few minutes if I find some gold. If not, I will probably just head back to the base and we'll head out again in the morning. Here's a bit of gold. It could just be one of those little nuggets. Nope, maybe there's a bit here. So while I mine this up, I thought I would talk about the fact that I have autosave on. I know that a lot of people who record games for YouTube tend to turn off autosave features in games because it tends to cause hiccups, which are no fun, and additional resource usage and disk usage. But Stationeers still has a bunch of physics bugs, and I tend not to use autosave to correct my mistakes, but if some weird physics thing happens and I end up dying, like if I am just walking around my base and crash into something like at normal walking speed and it bounces me off into oblivion and crashes me into a wall or something, and I die, I will reload from an autosave on that. If I do something stupid, like blow up a furnace and kill myself legitimately, I suppose, then I won't do the reload. This series, it's experimental, so I'll probably be a bit lax about that, because yeah, it's just an experimental series. But when I'm sort of like playing ordinarily, I like to give myself challenges. I like to think of myself as, like I'm a astronaut or a cosmonaut, or somebody from ESA, and I've been sent to the moon or Mars or Europa. Um, so yeah, that's how I tend to play. And I set myself various challenges, like, oh, there's some lead. That's nice. Um, when Europa came out, a lot of the videos people were making, they would use um, the solid fuel generator, which I've already mentioned I don't particularly like, because where are we going to find coal, which is the remains of decayed animals on Europa and Mars and the moon and so on. I understand that we have to use it to make steel, but I try to avoid using it as a power source. And so in Europa, a lot of the ways people were starting off was to use the solid fuel generator, which I feel is kind of cheaty. Not cheaty, kind of cheesy. Also, it kind of sucks early on because it generates like 12,000 watts per tick or something like that. And even if you have uh, both APCs hooked up to it and dead batteries in the APCs and the charger or the battery charger hooked up and a bunch of dead batteries in it, you're only capturing a small part of that power, and so it's not particularly good to use early on. You end up wasting a whole ton of coal. So yeah, I just plain don't like it. I have on Europa bases in the past, not when I'm particularly challenging myself, used it as a backup power source. I set up automation around it so that if my batteries get below some percentage, that it kicks in. Since there's a bit more gold here in that lead, I think what I'll do is I'll grab this. I don't really want that oxide. Just take up space. Sorry, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay here. But before I do that, I will finish my thought on Europa. So I set up the coal generator as a backup source, and I set up automation so that when my power got below a certain point, it would kick in, and so it almost never came on. The idea was actually to use that kind of as a test for a gas generator, but I never got to that. Anyway, roundabout way, I don't like the coal generator or the coal mechanic, so I avoid it where I can. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to mine up some more of the gold, since I had a hard time finding it. I'm going to grab 2 stacks or whatever I can get out of this, and I'll grab that lead, and then I'll head back. So I'll catch up with you when I'm heading back. So the sun is up now, and you can see I did end up getting 2 stacks of gold, and exactly 2 stacks. That lead ended up being, of course, there's more gold right there. That lead ended up being just the 5, which I kind of was worried about. I mined through that oxide to. Alright, just looking at what resources are over here. I mined through that oxide to see if maybe there was some more lead and, well, Of course, there wasn't. But yeah, I'll just head back. I'll meet up with you there. So here we are. Our battery's just about dead. You can see I ended up almost 90 degrees off axis from the base. Ooh, that was close. I mean, not so close that we were actually freezing, but... So what I'm going to do is... No, tilt upwards. I am going to spend... It's fine, it's on the way up. Keep dropping a wrench on there. I'm going to swap these guys, turn that off. Nearly dead one in there. So I'm going to start smelting up some of this material. I'm going to start with some iron. And so what I'll do is I'll spend the day tracking the sun manually and smelting stuff. And then I'll come back to you at night, which of course doesn't make the best filming, but... Well, I'll come back to you when I'm done smelting up a couple of gobs of stuff. So I'm back. I've spent a bit of time, and not even that long, tracking the sun manually, and I've smelted up some copper and that iron we initially set up. I was thinking while I'm waiting for the gold, which I'm only doing a bit of because power's at a bit of a premium at the moment, I'm going to set up for a trick I like. That's not even a trick. But a thing I like to do. You can stack your machines if you're a little crafty. I forgot to mention, while I was out, I had to grab a bite from a granola bar. I guess that's not particularly newsworthy, but... So, if you build your machines in a frame like this, well, you can build them that way. But if you don't... Sorry. If you don't wire them up, as soon as you take the frame away, they will fall apart. But if we wire them, that's why things were so dark. If you wire them up, when you take the frame away, the machine stays put. So what I'll do... Nope. Is I'll just place these bits of wire and I'll grab the wire cutters so that I can do this one. And then, oh, our gold finished. Good. Yeah, so we'll grab the gold, we'll stuff it in there. Click on our solar. We'll just tip it all the way down. It won't get much higher than it is now. How's our battery? Yeah, we can afford to... Actually, let's hold off on... Yeah, what the heck. We'll smelt that. I guess you gotta turn it back on. So what I'm gonna do, actually, is... It may seem a little indulgent, but I'm gonna build a couple of locker kits so that I can build a big locker. And another thing that I remember from a while back is that, so if this printer has all the resources it needs, it'll keep on printing until it runs out. But if you change the recipe while it's in the middle of a print, it'll stop after the one that it's currently printing. So I had enough resources to keep printing those kits, but if you change the recipe, it won't. And I planned on sticking this here. I'm thinking of it. I'll pop up here and bring our solar panel back down to 0 so that as soon as the sun comes up, we're charging. This guy finished, so we'll turn it off. Throw the copper in here, and while I'm thinking of it also, we will find the electronics printer and start that. And because I have enough material to print more than one, and I don't want to babysit it, I'm going to do the trick where I change the recipe. So you just press one of these arrows. So now you see it says clear kit flat wall. We don't actually want that. It just, if the recipe changes, it won't keep printing. And so what I'm going to do is I will load up my lockers and I will catch you when the electronics printer is done printing. So our electronics printer has just finished. I'll go ahead and turn off the auto lathe, and you'll notice because I changed the recipe, it stopped. I'll grab this guy, and you see how it changes color. It's sort of a green outline there. Now it's yellow. That means it's connected to the power that we have wired up. Nice. Go back to the tool belt. Need plastic sheets and iron sheets. Finish this. And you saw earlier when I assemble, I tend to just throw the torch on the ground because it's just, I don't know, it's kind of annoying to flip back and forth. As you weld on iron sheets, apply some wire, and then weld on plastic sheets. Yeah, I don't know, it's just a thing I do. And then screwdriver to finish it. So there's our electronics printer. And now if we take out the grinder, I didn't notice it has a sound effect now. That's nice. Yeah, so there we go. Our electronics printer and the other printer, the auto lathe, are stacked up nicely. I know it doesn't look particularly good. They're just the electronics printers floating on the auto lathe. But I don't know. I submitted a feature request to make like a stacking kit that you could put in between them. So I feel justified in stacking them. Plus, I like that it saves us a bit of space. And also, I have a plan for the outputs of these in a little bit. We'll come to that in another time. In the meantime, I think that's going to wrap up this first episode. I will probably, for the next one, wait till daylight, and then we have a decent amount of materials at the moment, so I'll just put some stuff away, wait for daylight, and then we will get on to the next project, which I think I'm going to do solar tracking because I don't want to keep babysitting this. Oh, but that's right. We have research turned on, so we're going to need to build a research machine so that we can research the electronics. Yeah, so, okay, so for the next video, it'll be, at the very least, the research machine and maybe some simple solar automation. I don't have a sign-off, so see you later.